Alright, so today we're going to be looking at the Balm USA folder and how to run it. To begin with, we're going to kind of break this up into 3 different things, well maybe 4 depending on debugging. The first thing we're going to have to do is identify the switches. Okay, so we got a switch right here. This is the main power. Okay, got to turn that on first. Then you have this stop. If that's pressed down, it will not work, so you have to make sure you twist it and it pops up. The next one is over here. Again, twist it, make sure it's up. So you'll have this pop up every once in a while where it says button. If it does that, it has to fully initialize with both buttons up in order for this thing to function. You'll see that none of the buttons work. So when it does that, just turn it off, turn it back on, do not touch anything. Okay, and if you see it ending with a number like that and you press this down button, it should work. Okay, this is the stop, this is the up. Okay, just make sure that works on this side. If it does, the feeding unit is the most finicky thing. Another thing that might be the problem is there's a guard here. Okay, this guard has to be in the lock position in order for it to function. Okay, nice. So the first thing it needs is paper. It's already got paper, but we're going to take the paper out and put new paper in. So what you do is press the down button. Okay, so you've got down button. That lowers the bed. And you hit the stop button, which is the middle one, the red one. All right. So what I would do is before you put paper in here, I would jog it. Okay, there's a jogger over on the other side. I'm not going to run it with the video camera because it is really loud. So we put the new paper in. Okay, then you just press the up. Now while it's going up, I pull these guards out of the way because sometimes they get stuck on the paper. Don't worry, there's a safety on them, so they actually go up in the air. You're not going to pinch your fingers on them. So there we go. These weights have to look like this, so they have to be resting on the paper. In order to move them, you have to loosen them and move them. Odds are we've been tightening with a wrench so that the students can't move them. Okay, so that is the power and the feed. Okay, now we have to cover the back side of it. Okay, this unit right here. So I'm going to say this is going to be the worst case scenario, and it's already set up for maybe a bifold. Okay, and we need a trifold. Trifold's a little bit more difficult to run. So when we look at it, you got knobs. I'm just going to show you how to take this out and then make sure that it's in trifold mode. We could actually identify if it's in trifold mode by not taking it out, but let's say first we identify it, and then I'll show you how to take it out and change it. So you see how these plows, they look like kind of like an L going up or a J. Okay, with both of these, that means that this carriage can accept paper. That means that this is already in trifold mode. If the bottom one has this symbol over here, that means it's in bifold mode. Okay? So if it is in bifold mode, this is how you change it. There is this and one on the other side. And then you pull this out. It's rather hard, it's rather heavy, and make sure you don't pinch your fingers. Okay. Now, if you look at this side, alright, let me adjust the camera here. I don't have a camera crew, sorry. Fussy camera people. So you got this, you rotate it, and it goes like that. So what you want is this symbol needs to face the plow. So if you look right here, there's this, okay? This needs to be open, and then this symbol needs to face it. Okay, so with the J facing this open plow, I'm just calling it a plow, I have no idea what this thing is called, but when it's facing this and this is down, then it works. So if you see this like this, and you want a trifold, you have to be like this. If you want a bifold, it has to be like this, and then the other symbol needs to be facing towards the plow. So, trifold, that symbol facing the open plow. Alright, so now what you do is put it back in. Make sure the plow is open. And I am grabbing it on right here is where I got my hands, so I don't pinch them. And afterwards, I then tighten this back up. And the one on the other side also. Okay, so that is the return unit. While I'm over here on the return unit, this is the speed at which the belt runs. So sometimes that has to be adjusted. Okay. Let's go down here to the control mechanism. Alright, so basically I have this button on. These are my auto learn buttons. So with these on, you could pretty much have your grandma set this up, to be honest with you. So we're only covering this because this is based on student work right now, and this is a very beginner lesson. So let's only use these buttons for right now. I have 1, 2, 3, which starts it, and 3, 2, 1 that stops it. So let me show you what it looks like running. 2, 1, and that stops it. All right, so basically down here on the return side, I have the wheels like this. So it pushes the product onto the conveyor, and you can see there's a good distribution of the material. Now if you take one out, you'll see that it's really nice. It's got a good fold. Okay. So that is rare. Now, on this machine, we have several adjustments. If you're doing a trifold, it's got to be 3 11/16. Okay, and if you look at this little marker right here, okay, right there on the edge of this tooth, that one needs to be at a 3 11/16 in order to be a trifold. And the same with the other side. So how you adjust that, if it's not that case, is first you loosen this and then you rotate it. I'm going to move it to something that I know is wrong and then tighten it and run the job. You can see what it did. Now it has this really nasty fold in there. Okay, that fold is not balanced. So we're going to switch it back to 3 11/16. And we're going to tighten it down. I'll run the job and then look at the work. All right, in this case, you see the nasty fold is gone. All right, let's say paper like this appears on the track. What do? You could run it, but it's not going to quite feed it correctly because it's stopped right in the middle of the job. You can go like that to remove the paper. Okay. Another thing is, let's say a piece of paper gets trapped in it. You can also go like this. You pull this wheel out and you rotate it. And you can rotate it back to free up the piece of paper. Now you can grab the paper. Okay, so let's say it's just not working all that well. It's not folding or feeding correctly. One of the other things is the paper feed needs to identify the thickness of the paper. So you take whatever paper that you're using and you rip it. You fold it. Okay? And over here, there is this thing. Let's see if I can make sure that yep, that's in video. Okay. All right, so there is right here on this side, there is a round. You lift it up and you put a piece of paper that's folded in half there. And that will dictate the thickness of the paper. See it right there. Lift up, goes right under here. You'll see a lot of those on this machine. You'll see many of them on and over here also. See them? So each one of those has to have one of those pieces of paper in it, and they just clamp down. So that's how you tell the machine what thickness it is. I'll run a job to see how that worked. You can see that it didn't like that. You know, there's just that one little piece of paper in there, and then it doesn't work. It doesn't function. So how you have that set, sometimes it needs a piece, sometimes it doesn't. In this case, if I remove that, it works just fine. So there we go. All right, so one more thing. Let's see, there's so much stuff on this machine. There is the blower, okay? If you are having a trouble feeding it, so let's say I do 1, 2, 3, okay, it's gonna start feeding paper. This blower is what's blowing the sheets apart and then allowing them to be fed. So if it's not set correctly, you might have to play with it until all the sheets separate with air, and then it allows it to feed. There's the adjustment for the up and down of it, and there's also the adjustment right here. Okay, this is a little door, and the door opens and closes, and that's how much air there, or how much, yeah, what the force of the air is. So this is the force right here, and this is the direction. There's two directions. If you look real close, there's two move. You can move this one or move this one. I'm not going to move them because they are very sensitive, and once you move those, you're pretty much going to be there a while getting those back together. All right, so I think that's it. Oh yeah, let's look at skew. Okay, so skew happens if you loosen this one and you loosen this one. You now have the ability to move just this one ring. Okay, I'm going to move it, tighten it, and then tighten this one at the same time, and I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, so now you can see how there's a gap. It was just a little gap, so right up here versus right up here. This is maybe a 16th and that one's an 1/8. So it's small. What about the inside? Inside looks good. Okay. So if you need to adjust the skew, especially on this machine, we've adjusted it to the point where we could start using these lines. So first, loosen, move to 11/16. Okay. Tighten, and then loosen only the back one, and then align these two lines together on the machine. All right, just to be very clear, on the other side of this, there is also the same mechanism, works the same way, it needs the same in order for a trifold to work. So if this one on that side is set to 3 11/16, this one also needs to be set to 3 11/16. It has the lines just like the other one. It has the same thickness out, and you can see the ruler right there. Okay, So I just wanted to make sure that you knew that it has to be the same on both sides in order for a trifold to work. 3 and 11/16. Boom. Okay, and there we go. Let's run the job. I kind of wrinkled it a little bit, but you can see there's no skew. It's even on both sides. Boom, boom. You do want, in my humble opinion, a little bit of a difference between here and here because it allows it to shut nicely and it allows people to open it up nicely. So having just a little bit of a lip right there is nice. It's on you whether you like that or not, but I do. And you can see sometimes like how it sets. Feels like I want to open it. I don't know. That's just me though. Alright, well that's it for the folder. That's all that you need to know right now. And I hope you enjoyed the lesson.